Mike Ann here, and I am back from a trip to Santa Fe, and I just thought I'd share with you the sketchbook that I kept on the trip, and kind of talk to you a little bit about how I do some trip journaling, sketching on the go. And I love recording the memories of a place or a special time or event. My daughter and I went together on this trip, and I know it will be a special memory and one that I wanted to document. So that's a lot of the angle that I'm coming from. It's not just the sketches, but the memories that they represent. So this is an Art Creations sketchbook, 5x7 size, and it is a landscape orientation, which is a little different than I'm used to. So it was kind of fun trying that out a little bit. I do plan to decorate this cover. It's got like a craft cover. I do plan to decorate it, paint it, something. I just haven't decided what yet. Also, I've only used not quite a half, maybe a third of the sketchbook, so I will be continuing on in this, and probably you'll get a flip of the rest of it at some point in the future. I am thinking about keeping it a little bit Southwest themed, maybe in colors or style, so we'll see about that. But for now, here is what I did on the trip. I stuck this in. I haven't even filled it out yet, but this is a digital download from one of my recent Patreon sheets, and then I always stick in the information about the sketchbook, because that's interesting to go back to and look at later. And this page I did ahead. So I had gotten this one of these little guidebooks when we were planning the trip, and this has got washi tape stuck on the front of it just because it was a good surface to store that on. But as I looked through this, I was kind of getting a feel of the colors and the vibes, and that really helps me kind of plan not only the trip, but even like what colors I want to bring along and things like that. So I do enjoy using a guidebook when I'm doing something like that. So from that, I kind of made this title page, and I made that before the trip ever started. So I kind of had it designated and ready. Another thing is that I packed this small for me to have all my art supplies in, little portable studio, and I will do another video on that of what's in here. But it's interesting to see what you use and don't use, and for the most part I did take some extra supplies that didn't fit in here, but I found myself using mainly what's in here. So I will be giving you another video of my travel kit. I am planning some more travel, and so that was helpful stuff for me to find out. So jumping into the trip then, we stopped just at a park along the way and did a little bit of walking, stretching our legs, and then also sat and did a little sketching. And one of our big goals for the trip was to do a lot of sketching, so this kind of got us off to a good start. This really has nothing to do with the trip, just what I was inspired to try to do, just doodling around. I did use watercolor on here. I also used paint pens, which I had a few paint pens along, but I did not use those as much as I thought I would. But now and then I did use them, and I think this was a prepared page. So that's the other thing. Go back and watch a video of me preparing the sketchbook, because I did prepare pages ahead of time, which I found to be very useful. I was very happy that I had done that. And this is one of the pages. So where the rabbits are, that was preparation I had made on the page previously. This also was preparation. Now I kind of knew this would be a little bit of the feel of the scenery we would be driving through in order to get to Santa Fe, So I did kind of know that ahead. I did think I would be filling more stuff in, but no, there was a big stretch of nothing, and where we saw one tiny little town or house in the distance and maybe one tiny little dead tree. And so that was very representative, as it turns out, of the scenery we saw on the way there. The first place we went to once we got to Santa Fe was a botanical gardens, and it was very interesting and beautiful. A lot of plants that were not familiar to us, and so it was really fun looking at. The colors were lovely, and a lot of these we did not do actually on site, but like we would go back to our campground in the evening. It had a picnic table, and we would just spread out and kind of paint the things we'd seen that day, which this is just kind of a representative, just very loose kind of warm up, very fun to do. I have watercolor and some colored pencil, and I think that's pretty much it. Watercolor, colored pencil, maybe a little pen and ink, some pen and ink here. So very fun and loose and fun to do, and a great way to warm up. And then this was some more specific images from the botanical gardens. This was a Hopi red amaranth plant that was gorgeous, and so I had to do that. I'm not sure what kind of leaves these were, but we saw a lot of those. This is a photograph that I stuck in of some succulents there that I didn't want to try to draw. This was a beautiful statue. They also had a lot of statues in this, sculptures, I should say, in this botanical gardens that were lovely. And this one was my favorite, so I kind of sketched it in there. And then this was another scene from the garden. And this is probably one of my favorite pages of the trip, just how it all tied together. This page was also one that I had prepped ahead, and you can kind of see, and I just made use of what was there and incorporated it into my illustration. So you can see these background colors were all things that I had painted ahead of time. So I did find that a really nice thing to have a little bit of a starter on my page. Also, I want to point out that I do not exclude using photographs in my sketchbook. I know it's a sketchbook, but it's also like kind of my memory keeping travel journal all-in-one sketchbook. I also write in here, so I have sketching and writing and photographs all in one in this same book. This page is not done. I was just trying these. Were inspired by some of the sculptures that I saw in the gardens, and it kind of gave me an idea for some little illustrations for my patrons. Hopefully I'll go back and kind of develop these some more, but they're just kind of getting the idea down at this point. I also was, the whole trip, the whole week we were there, was so inspired by the pottery there. These are kind of my own made-up design, inspired by some of the pottery we saw and some of the patterns and everything, so I just kind of recombined them in different ways. But I loved the pottery, so kind of was recording some of that as well. This was our camp spot. There was these scrubby trees and lots of these little cactus around. You had to be a little bit careful where you're walking. And then this log fence that was really, I thought was really cool. And then we had our picnic table, and we were always had art supplies spread out on our picnic table, and we're making art. So this was our little kind of studio setup. It was a KOA campground, so it had all the luxuries of nice bathrooms and showers and all of those amenities. I also got some, and I'll get more to it later, but some new gouache, white gouache on the trip, so I was kind of trying it out, see what I could do, mixing it with watercolor to make clouds. This is just some of the plants in the camp area. And then we went to the rail yard, very iconic scene in Santa Fe. And this was a page I had prepped, and I thought it worked out perfectly for kind of representing the rail yard. It was kind of gave me the feel or the vibe. So a lot of this was just prepared, not knowing what we're going to see or do. Prepared page. And then so this is drawn in, and this is drawn in, and of course this. Otherwise, it's just the preparation that was made. So I love it when things work out that way. And I will say it makes it much easier to get your sketches done if you have a little head start like that. We went to a art supply store. We don't have any locally, so it's always a treat to go somewhere that has an actual art supply store. And this is, I've been planning for several months of what I wanted to buy there, and I have some watercolors that most of these are ones that I already had, but I needed to restock. I did really want some high quality white wash just to include in my watercolor palette, and so I got that, and I never can resist the colored pencils, so I did add a few colored pencils to my stash. I also bought some things like some workshop supplies and things like that, but these were the things I was most excited about. I then tried these out, so we went, after we'd gone to the art supply store later that evening, we went back and of course had to try out our new paints. So here I am trying to see what mixes, like mixing just my new ones together and kind of seeing what they would do. So that was really fun. We went to the plaza in kind of downtown Santa Fe, and we parked in a parking garage, and our car was parked right here, and there was this little fence, and it looked out over the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi. This is not the same angle it was, but I just kind of wanted to give a representation of that. So that was a fun memory. The parking garage itself was like beautiful and had painted columns and everything, and so I was already in love before we even got out of the parking garage. So that was fun. And then this was in the plaza itself, kind of like a big main square area, and just kind of like, I'm not worried about getting things totally accurate, just close enough when I look at it, it brings back those memories. So not perfectly executed, but representative enough that I can recognize the area. So that's kind of my goal in my urban sketches. And then there was kind of this market area of stalls and booths, and we had a lot of fun looking around there, and my daughter bought me this beautiful scarf that I was it's just gorgeous, very sweet of her, and so I kind of wanted it to be the central attraction there. And so I just made this busy background of like some of the other things we saw, a lot of pottery and rugs and some clothing, some jewelry, more pottery, and then just kind of capturing some of the style of some of the buildings themselves. So that page is all about the market area. On this spread I used a page that I had already prepped, and I'd already made it in these little grid sections. I'd added some collage papers and paint into each of these grids, and so we were in the plaza area, and I just had some buildings, some architecture that I wanted to record, and I used these prepped grids to do that in. This is the Museum of Contemporary Native Art, just kind of peeking in at the courtyard of the building and kind of representing that architecture and just letting some of that original paint and collage paper show through. This was a really fun little doorway, just the doorway to a shop. It wasn't even open. I don't know what was in there, but I loved the doorway. It had the carved wood, the chili peppers, the turquoise door, just all the kind of classic style in a, the Pueblo style adobe here. And I just thought, oh, it's all in one, that had the stained glass window. So again, not perfectly recorded, but just kind of getting the feel of the place. This was the Loretta Chapel, and it was just like kind of the doorway of it. This was all collage paper that was already there, so just kind of like the rough and tumble feel of it. I used a water-soluble pen drawing here, so it's kind of washed away. I just kind of like the rough look, I guess, of these. This was just trying out those watercolors, my new watercolors some more. I was kind of evaluating my palette that I had along. Just gave you a little, I'll do a full tour later, but I had this little art toolkit palette, and I had, selected some colors. I know it's like very messy because I had gotten some new colors and didn't have a spot for them, so I just squirted them up here, which works. So I was trying out some more mixes with my new colors, and this also is kind of mixing some of those colors. This I stuck in a photograph because we were sitting at our picnic table in the camp spot, having an art session, and the sun was really shining, beating down on us, and we dug some umbrellas out of the car and rigged them up in the hanging in the tree, and my daughter had one strapped to her for sunshade while we were working on our art, and so I just thought that was kind of a fun memory, so I wanted to record that. And then this is a park we went to that had a fountain, and it had all around the fountain area there was these beautiful roses. They were kind of just like maybe a week earlier. They had probably been stunning. They were a little bit past their prime, but it was still very pretty and still very fun looking at all these different colors of roses. And then while we were in that area, we walked around the neighborhood around the area just looking at all the Pueblo style homes. And this is another page where I had prepared, I had painted these swatches. So I actually did not add any color to these sketches. I just left them as is. I had intended to add more paint, but I kind of like them like this. So I'm kind of thinking about leaving them as is. So these are just elements, again, kind of architecture, the houses in the neighborhood of the walk we took. So that was really fun. And then also in that park, we spent some time with our sketchbooks, and we just sat under this huge tree, and it just had so many branches. And so this is just kind of a cropped view of that tree, and I really like that effect. This landscape, I was not totally sure how to use this landscape oriented sketchbook, but I really like that effect and think that would be something that I would kind of like to do more, where it's just a cropped part of a image. So that was really fun. And then another really fun thing we did, my daughter had prepared ahead of time some little prompts that she unfolded bits of paper, and she had one bag that was nouns and another bag that was verbs. And so we would draw out two, like one noun and one verb, and then we would time ourselves to do it. So the very first one we did, we only gave ourselves 5 minutes, and I don't know why I was trying to do the whole spread, didn't have enough water ready anyway, but we learned from that. So this one was 5 minutes desert resting, and so I actually used some soft pastels, some chalk pastels here, which are really fun to use, and I love the texture they give, but they did really crumble. They're not too suited for travel without some padding at least, and they kind of were kind of a mess by the time I got back home. But it was fun to use, and that's what I used and got these fun textures here. And I was trying to make a lizard here sleeping in the desert. So that one was kind of a fail, but kind of learned from that. That was the first one we did. These are supposed to be cactus here. So we went on and did some more because it was super fun. So this one was a mountain growing, and we decided to give ourselves 10 minutes because 5 minutes was just too quick. So this was my 10-minute version of that. We also did joyful tree, and so this was my version of that. And then I did a page of there were so many beautiful and interesting and intricate benches, and I was just kind of enamored with all the benches around. So this is kind of a compilation of a few of the benches that I had seen and wanted to record, and then also these flags, which I really like and think are beautiful, and so I just kind of doodled some of those in. This also was a page I'd prepped ahead of time, so all this color here was already down on the page. This one was one that I did actually sketch on location. At the time we had gone to brunch, and I had earlier that morning I was reading a book, and there was some quotes that were in the book that I wanted to record. This one was by William Morris, and it said the true secret of happiness lies in taking a genuine interest, I spelled that wrong, in all the details of daily life. And I thought that was a perfect quote to have on just our simple breakfast. So I went ahead and sketched that on this page, and it worked out pretty good. Kept the colors pretty simple. Then we were back to some more of these prompts because we had so much fun with them. And so this one was cactus traveling. Gave ourselves 10 minutes for that, and I had this little cactus in a little camper. And then we have forest sleeping, and I have a little guy in a hammock. Hiking season was this one. This one's my favorite. It was Pueblo camper van. So I did a little Pueblo building with wheels. And then this was a painting sketchbook, and which I used painting as a adjective for sketchbook, but my daughter took it because, it was fun to see how we took the different prompts differently. She actually had a sketchbook that was painting, and so she did some very cute illustrations. So it was fun. We got a laugh out of looking at each other's illustrations afterwards. Here's another page that I prepped, and I actually didn't have the heart to cover it up. The colors, everything just seemed beautiful to me. I did put a couple pieces of pottery over here because, again, I was really enjoying the pottery. And then this was just kind of recording the drinks we had. Primarily I had my water, and that was the big thing. We did have the campground, had coffee that we were able to get every morning. So that was fun. I did get a Topo Chico drink. We had some canned espresso when we're traveling. And we also went to this cacao that's famous for their drinking chocolate, and we bought a bag of that to have at home. And then I had seen again, I was so enamored with the pottery. Beautiful, beautiful pottery, like in the galleries and just everywhere. And one of the galleries we went to had an artist who had done these 2D representations of different pots They were probably like a 12 by 12 size, and they were so realistic. They actually looked like a real pot sitting in a box or something, but actually they were just his beautifully done, very photorealistic paintings of pottery. So it kind of, and so they displayed it in the gallery with this huge, like they were all together kind of grid style on the wall, and it kind of inspired me to just record some different pottery styles here. Of course, mine are very simple, nothing like his, but they were fun to do. Okay, so this is another pre-prepped page. I have not used this one yet. I do have some images. I will probably go back and do that. So next time you see me flip through the whole book, I should have that done. And then this one I have done. This was actually a house we saw on that walk around the neighborhood that was quite elaborate. I haven't peeled the tape off yet though, so I'll go ahead and do that now. So I was very happy with my page prepping. It worked out perfectly. I have another trip coming up this year, and so I kind of learned some things, and that is one thing that I will definitely want to do again, because it just made things so much easier to have those pages ready to work on. And I don't necessarily hold myself to everything has to be perfectly in order. So that helps too, because I just use these pages when it's convenient too. So that's how that came out. So I did add some paint to the building, and I believe there's some colored pencil on here too. I painted in these the greenery. Otherwise, I just left it as is. It was a page very similar to this, and I just put this building on it, which is fun. This was another quote from that book, which I ran out of room, ended up over here. It's kind of a mess, but I thought it was really fun. It says, so this is a quote from Thomas More, who lived in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and he says, "It isn't easy in our complicated world to enjoy the pleasures of ordinary living. Imagine life not as an ambitious quest, but as an anti-quest, a search for the ordinary and a cultivation of the unexceptional." And I thought that was so appropriate in a sketchbook, because while these might be exceptional experiences to me, they're also ordinary, like just what is their ordinary homes. To us, it's not ordinary, it's a different style, but these are just homes, or a doorway, or a bench, or a pot, or whatever. And so that seemed very fitting to include in a sketchbook. This I just wanted to put down, and it's very quick and rough, but just some of the styles, the patterns, and you'd see so much pattern everywhere. So I just kind of like got down some of the patterns that I saw. These are done with my brush pen, which I love. This is a Pentel brush pen that has permanent ink. It comes with cartridges like this that have permanent or waterproof ink, which I really appreciate, because then you can paint or whatever on top of it. So the writing is done with that, and then the drawing too. Like I said, it's pretty rough and bold, quick sketch, and then I colored it in later with colored pencil. And then when we were at that market that I was talking about, I bought this little, I thought this was the cutest little thing, this little tat, carved wood, carved and painted, and pretty cute. And I thought, oh, that just inspires me to do like see if I can do some other animals that style. And so I did all of these kind of inspired by this, and so that was fun to do. These are just done with a micron pen and then colored pencil. And then these I actually had in mind to do the days of the week for my patrons, for a sheet for them, and so that I was kind of designing it in dimensions appropriate for that. And so I'll probably turn that into that for them. And then over here we went, of course, and looked at some galleries. There are 250 galleries in Santa Fe. We went to a tiny fraction of that, but these were a couple favorites, and so I put the cards of those in because I would like to go back and look up more about the artists that were in those galleries. This is one of the pieces from that. When I was telling you about the potter, I was telling you about that inspired my big page of pots, wherever that went to. This one, this is one of his pieces, just beautiful. And then that's the end. I do have some more photos from the trip that I hope to do sketches from in here. So I'm hoping I'm not done with the trip art, but you know, realistically I might do a couple more pages and then I'll be on to other things. I do have a lot of the sketchbook left, so I will continue on in this sketchbook. I also, in the back, I've got washi tape just stuck in here, ready to be used on another grid. I also glued in before the trip, glued in an envelope so that I'd have a place to stick all those little fun extras. So some of these I might be using to decorate the cover. I have a little New Mexico sticker and a little desert sticker. This is I bought a sheet of beautiful paper in that art store. So that's a scrap of that I'd like to use in there somewhere. This is a postcard. These are just some tabs, like if I wanted to stick something in that I could take back out, you know, business cards or whatever. So I had just put those in there. And these are just some things I had stuck in ahead of time that I thought I might use, and I may still, but I have not used them yet. So this was from a vintage playing card, and I just thought it was really cool. A sticker I got that might go on the cover here somewhere, but I need to decide what I'm doing as far as painting it. And then this is some of those pieces of that artist I was telling you about, Chuck Sabatino. Beautiful paintings of pottery, which I thought was interesting. So I have all those. So let's put this back in, stuck in that back pocket, which is something I really like to have when I'm traveling, a place to put, you know, those little things you collect. So that's a tour. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.